From the moment that we enter the world, we are social detectives. We don't arrive with a manual on how to behave. Instead, we build one through a lifelong process of social mirroring. Every action we take sends a ripple into our environment, and the way that ripple bounces back in the form of a smile, a scold, or a sigh tells us exactly who the world expects us to be. The foundation of understanding expectations begins with trial and error. See, consider a baby sitting in a high chair who purposefully drops a handful of spaghetti onto the floor. This isn't just a mess, it is a scientific experiment in human reaction. The mother picks it up with a weary smile, teaching the baby that some people provide a safety net of grace. The father offers a firm and a furrowed brow, introducing the concept of boundaries and consequences. The sibling bursts into giggles, signaling that some behaviors serve as entertainment or social bonding. In this single moment, the baby learns that the world is not a monolith. Expectations are situational and person specific. We begin to categorize our behaviors based on the feedback loops we receive from our primary tribe. As we move into childhood and adolescence, the mirror shifts from parents to peers. This is perhaps the most turbulent phase of understanding expectations because the feedback becomes contradictory. A teenager might excel in a difficult math class. From their teacher, they receive praise and the expectation of academic excellence. However, from their peer group, they might sense an expectation to be cool or indifferent, where overachieving is seen as social suicide. This stage teaches us the complex art of code switching. We learn to read the room, adjusting our vocabulary, posture, and energy to meet the specific expectations of the tribe we are currently standing in. We begin to understand that meeting expectations isn't just about being good, it's about belonging. In adulthood, the stakes of reading expectations rise. In a professional setting, we learn to interpret corporate speak and unspoken hierarchies. A manager might say, I'm open to feedback, but their body language, when challenged, tightened lips or a distracted gaze, teaches the employee that the actual expectation is difference, not honesty. In intimate relationships, the process becomes even more nuanced. We learn our partner's expectations through the silent treatment or the warm embrace. We realize that meeting an expectation often requires anticipation. If a partner is stressed and we choose to do the dishes without being asked, we are responding to an unspoken expectation of support. The lifelong process of learning what people expect from us is essential for social harmony, but it carries a risk: the loss of authentic self. If we spend our entire lives reacting to the mother's grace, the father's rules, and the peer's laughter, we may eventually forget to ask what we expect from ourselves. True maturity is the ability to recognize what others want from us, fulfill those roles when necessary, but maintain a core identity that remains independent of the high reactions of the world. While learning to meet expectations is a survival skill, it can become a burden. In psychology, this is often referred to as the social self versus the true self. When we spend decades pivoting our behavior to satisfy the mom, the dad, or boss figures in our lives, we risk developing a falsified personality. the burden of consistency. If you are always the reliable one or the funny one, you may feel you lack the permission to be vulnerable or serious. And then decision paralysis. When faced with a major life choice, people who are overly attuned to external expectations often struggle to answer the question, what do I actually want? Because their internal compass has been replaced by an external sonar. The goal of emotional maturity is to move from compliance, which is doing what is expected to avoid friction, to congruence, choosing actions that align with your values, even if they occasionally disappoint others. Then we have the digital mirror. In the past, the audience for our behavior was limited to the people in the room. Today, social media has created a permanent high chair. When we post a photo or an opinion, we aren't just reading the reaction of a mother or a sibling. We are reading the metrics of hundreds. The audience in traditional expectations is small, intimate, and contextual, but the digital expectations is large, anonymous, and permanent. The feedback in traditional is nuanced with tone, body, and language, but in the digital it is quantified with likes, shares, and comments. And the performance of the traditional ends when you leave the room. The digital expectations continues and are archived. This digital environment accelerates the social mapping process. If a baby drops food and gets a laugh, they might do it again. If a teenager posts a specific type of selfie and gets likes, the algorithm reinforces that behavior as the expected standard. This creates a feedback loop where we begin to curate our lives to meet the expectations of an invisible global audience, often leading to a sense of performance fatigue. The process of life is a gradual shift from being a reactor to an author. As infants, we react to the scold or the laugh because we must learn the rules of the world to survive. As adults, we must learn to curate those roles. We realize that we can satisfy the mother's need for safety, the father's need for order, and the sibling's need for joy without losing the core of who we are. We learn that expectations are not commands. They are simply data points that help us navigate the complex, beautiful landscape of human connection. Understanding what people expect from us is a form of literacy. We learn to read faces, tones, and silences like text. From the spaghetti on the kitchen floor to the high-stakes boardroom presentation, we are constantly refining our performance based on the audience. By understanding this process, we gain the power to choose which expectations are worth meeting and which are worth redefining.